Hello everyone, it's Justin, aka Jinkin Rocket, and today I want to talk a little bit about some exciting changes that are happening in medicine. Now, the holy grail of medicine for a long time has been a virtual body. And the reason for that is because the state of medicine as it is now has animal testing first with medicine, and then moving on to human trials if the animal trials are successful. Usually the mice are used because of ethical concerns, or using other primates, things like this. And the problem with that is that mice physiology, while somewhat similar to ours, is not really similar. And so what ends up happening is that a lot of medicines that work in mice are found effective in mice and end not being effective in humans, or even worse, are dangerous or poisonous to us in various ways. So this process isn't actually that useful, isn't that easy. And so the problem is that, one, it's not really effective, and the second problem is that it takes a long time, because you have to know not only what sort of effect it has on the animal, but you have to measure what effect it has over time, not just initially. And only once people are very sure, only once like the FDA and the regulatory committees are very sure, does it then go on to human trials. And most medicines don't even make it there. Only a tiny fraction of medicines actually make it there. So most just get dismissed out of hand because they don't even pass the mice trials. So there are a couple things that having a virtual body, or something that's more close to a virtual human, would allow medicine and biology to do. So the most important thing would be that it's tested to be effective and safe for humans, and to do this as quickly as possible so that you can find out which medicines are good, which medicines aren't good, and you can learn from that and you can move on. This will increase the power of medicine many fold. Well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is these in silico trials, virtual humans, in this case, thinking of computer virtual humans, simulated humans, aren't anywhere close to happening. The human body is incredibly complex, and all of these different things that happen in it aren't quite known to science and to programmers and to people that would put it into a machine. And so for that reason, it would be very difficult to make a virtual body. And actually right now it's not even possible. It's not possible on the hardware side, as in our hardware can't handle it, and it's not possible on the software side because we don't understand everything that's going on in the human body yet. But there are some initiatives to help that happen. In Europe, they've got an initiative to create a virtual body, and that's called, hold on a second here, the Virtual Physiological Human Program. And it's an initiative by a bunch of medical researchers to try to make this virtual body. It's very slow going. They can kind of make an organ by itself, but connecting all the different organs and having the systems work as a whole is something that's just a far ways off. My take on it is that ultimately they won't succeed by themselves. They'll need some sort of AI assistance to be able to actually do this level of complexity. It's just not possible. It would take humans decades, if not hundreds of years, to go through the entire human body. Well, with the tools we have now. But a combination of better tools for looking at the human body and AI to help us to make sense of the information faster would be something that would make a virtual human possible. I'm going to go ahead and guess and call it in the next 30 years. We'll have some version of virtual humans that we'll use for medical purposes. Now, in the meanwhile, we do have some other technologies that are up forth and right on the radar and sort of just coming into fruition right now. And one of these is a body on a chip. Now, body on a chip has been around for a little while, and what basically they do is they take samples of different organs that are interconnected in their own ecosystem, and they put tiny pieces of them on a chip so that those cells interact sort of like the organs do. And in that way they can get a sense of how the organs interact, and they can get a sense of how, if you put medicine into one, it affects the other, and so on and so forth. But normally this can only be done with a few samples of organs, like maybe you put a little liver in there, maybe a heart, or I don't know the exact ones. I'm not a medical student. And you can see how those interact and how the medicines affect them. So it's not very robust and not effective as far as being able to tell. Just knowing 3 organs isn't really going to tell you that much about how this affects the human body, or whether or not it's going to be something good or bad necessarily. So this new body on a chip that's been funded by DARPA and headed by MIT is a microfluidic system that is being geared toward replacing animal testing and and currently boasts the most organs on a chip ever produced. So you're looking at brain, heart, liver, things along these lines, lungs, and these cells are all connected by these little loops. I'll put a link down in the description to so you can go ahead and peruse that and let me know what you think in the comments. But essentially, this could completely change testing. Because A, you don't have to gather a bunch of volunteers, you don't have to go through this entire process of, oh, let's test animals, it doesn't work on the animals, yeah, then maybe it'll work in the humans. Instead, you can go straight to this body on a chip, and as these become more effective, you can get a really early sense of how it's going to affect the human being, whether or not it's going to be generally good or generally bad. And my guess is that in a very short period of time, these are going to be more effective at predicting whether or not something's going to be harmful to a human being than even the mice testing is. But these are still early days. So I think this is going to be a bridge technology before we get to actual virtual humans, somewhere 20, 30 years from now, when the hardware and software is all there. That's so interesting, isn't it? I mean, just think for a moment. A virtual body. When we get to the point where we can simulate an entire body, and your entire body can be simulated in a virtual world, your physical feelings, your brain connections, how they're firing, how they're changing. Now, who's to say that isn't a copy of you in the machine? And that's a sort of uploading. In that case, would you do it? Would you upload yourself into a machine? Or for that matter, would you even let samples of your body be taken out and put onto a chip in order for it to be sampled? Now, I think a lot less people are going to find a problem with that than with being copied into a virtual universe. But who knows? The future's probably going to be a strange place. I know this is. There's something even more impressive than those things that I really want to talk about, though. And that is the real future of medicine, the real current, near-term future of medicine. And that's big data. Big data is going to change everything we know about medicine. It's going to utterly transform the way we do medicine. Now, the reason for that is because for a long time, the medical technologies have had all of this patient information stored, but analyzing it was impossible. Connecting the dots on it wasn't really possible. But nowadays, with all sorts of new tools such as Fitbit and this and the other, and things that people and patients leave, such as everything from x-rays to doctor appointments to things they write online, can then be compiled and analyzed using machine learning and AI and narrow AI in order to leverage the results and sort of be able to tell certain things about certain people. And this will enable the medical technologies to really focus and personalize on individuals as people, rather than trying to do blanket approaches. This is what you need. This is what you need. This is what you're missing. This is what you're missing. It's going to be a very different story from the way it is today. So your information has become like the new gold. It's gold, and it's valuable to people, and it's worth something. And this is not something most people are used to. People want to protect their information; they want it to be private, but that they don't necessarily connect that with it having worth or being worth something to someone. You don't keep things private that aren't worth something to someone. Right? There are going to be some ethical concerns and some privacy concerns, and that's going to be a struggle as always. But the gains are enormous, and I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like this. And this is going to happen in the next 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years. This is really going to pick up the pace. Already, companies like Alphabet, that's Google's parent company, big biomedical companies are all making the rush to really get a handle on how to handle this stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, this is Justin, aka Jink and Rocky, signing out. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.